Live from the KFOX 14 studios in El Paso and Las Cruces, it's the Emmy Award-winning KFOX 14 News at 9.
You Decide 2012. Polls are closed across much of the country, and the presidential race is a nail-biter. Good evening. I'm Erica Castillo.
And I'm John Purvis. First on Fox tonight. Here's a look at the national numbers right now. They show President Obama and Republican nominee Mitt Romney in a close vote. It's neck and neck nationwide, and it's also very close in the Electoral College race, with key states still up for grabs. KFOX 14 reporter George Howell begins our live election team coverage in Chicago, where President Obama is watching the election results.
Projecting the states of California, Washington, Hawaii, and Minnesota to Barack Obama. Again, California, a big electoral prize for Barack Obama. Also, CNN projecting Idaho and Montana going to Mitt Romney. Want to give you crowd shots of what we're seeing here at Obama headquarters. There is a great sense of optimism. People are, as you hear, very excited about these results as they come in hour by hour. Also want to look over at what's happening in Boston. Slightly different crowd there. The crowd there very tense as they watch these election results coming in. Right now, we know that Mitt Romney is getting, several states coming in, but not the big states. Also watching what's happening with these swing states, these battleground states, still tight races, but it looks as if Florida is leaning more toward Barack Obama. Also right now, Ohio still leaning just a bit toward Barack Obama. That is the latest here in Chicago. George Howell reporting. Now back to you.
All right, thank you. In El Paso County, I'll look at the local numbers in the presidential race. In Doña Ana County, I'm waiting to see if the numbers come up because I am waiting to see them along with you. Mitt Romney trailing behind Barack Obama in the Doña Ana County numbers that are unofficial as of this point. And do we have a look at the El Paso County numbers in the race for the president? We don't have those right now, but again, Fox News is calling it right now. Barack Obama is leading in the electoral vote. There are still quite a few states up for grabs. The night is not over yet.
A big question for El Paso voters: should a hike in the hotel occupancy tax help pay for the AAA baseball stadium headed for downtown El Paso? And so far, a majority of El Paso voters, by a margin of 59% to 41%, support the tax hike to help pay for the ballpark. KFOX 14 News at 9's Genevieve Curtis continues our election team coverage live in downtown El Paso.
Well, good evening. I'm live at the Garden, which what started as a watch party for those in favor of the hotel motel occupancy tax rate hike, as well as propositions 1, 2, and 3. But as you can see behind me, the night has very much died down. This party is almost empty. That's because everybody that was here, from city leaders to the PAC supporters, everybody in favor of these propositions has headed out to other parties because they say this is a victory. Everyone was very excited to see those early voting numbers come back in favor of passing the hotel occupancy tax rate hike. They're very excited that this is what will fund the ballpark. It's been a very contentious, very ugly at times campaign between those that are for and those that against. There was some mudslinging and very nasty things said about city leaders. And right now, Joyce Wilson is here joining me. She was very excited. When you got those numbers in, there were tears in your eyes. You just tell everybody what your reaction has been.
I mean, I've been euphoric all night. I mean, from the moment we saw the results, I was stunned at the margin. And it's just grown since. And I am just so proud of this community and the citizens, the mayor and council, the business leaders who coalesced. I mean, we gave the citizens what they wanted, and I think they've spoken loudly tonight.
You told me earlier, today started as the worst day of your life. Today it's ending as the best. What can you say about, do you feel vindicated?
Well, I think in some respects I do, but it's really not even about me. I mean, I want to apologize, frankly, on the record to the opponents because I said some fairly, derogatory comments about them, and certainly as opponents and citizens of this community, they deserve to be treated with respect. But, I feel that we did what we thought was the right thing. We were honest, we were open, we reached out, and the people responded that this was what they wanted.
And where does the city go from here? What does tomorrow look like?
Tomorrow is a new day for El Paso. This city will never be the same. I mean, I can't even comprehend right now what the transformation will be for this community over the next 5 to 10 years. It'll be awesome. It'll be absolutely awesome.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, City Manager Joyce Wilson.
No,
absolutely not a problem. And I will send it back to you in studio. Again, very excited here for those in favor of the propositions that have so far been passed tonight. Reporting live in downtown El Paso, Genevieve Curtis, KFOX 14, News at 9.
And the biggest mouthpiece for the ballpark apologizing to the opposition tonight, as you just heard. The hot rate became a lightning rod issue in the last few months. We have brought you the opposition, which argued two things. One, that the voters should have had a say from the get-go on the baseball stadium. And two, since they didn't get a say-so, opponents urged them to vote down the hot rate. And tonight, it appears that the opponents are facing a defeat. We hear from one of them once again.
Just hope that these bonds do not pass, and I hope that even if they do, that we get an opportunity to reassess the way that this City Hall and this City Council has been doing business.
El Paso city leaders say regardless of the outcome of this election, a ballpark is coming to downtown. Today, City Council approves the purchase of 2 buildings to house city offices after City Hall gets demolished. The city will pay $11.7 million to buy 2 downtown buildings, including the El Paso Times building. They also approved nearly $9 million to partially pay for renovations on vacant downtown buildings that will also house city offices. One of the baseball team owners, Paul Foster, donated the Luther building to the city a few weeks ago. Ballpark opponents asked council not to go through with the purchases, calling it reckless spending. But council again pointed out the vote on the hotel occupancy tax will have no impact on plans to build the stadium downtown.
Our marching orders are to move along. We've not been stopped. It was critical today to get these motions of council so that we could get these things going. We're, as you know, on a very tight deadline to have a ballpark here by April 2014, and we're already late.
This is just a disaster that needs to be rejected, and we need to continue to fight this either with injunctions or other actions to stall the process so that City Council will understand they cannot be a rogue council.
Demolishing City Hall and relocating city offices will cost about $30 million, and that's separate from the $50 million cost of the ballpark. The first quality of life proposition on the ballot asks El Paso voters whether they support spending $245 million in general obligation bonds over the next several years to support the creation of new parks, park improvements, soccer fields, aquatic facilities, and zoo improvements. And again, most voters, an overwhelming majority of El Paso voters so far, are supporting this proposition by a vote of 73% to 27%.
Voters also appear to be approving for the second proposition on the ballot, which calls for $250 million in general obligation bonds to be spent for museum, cultural, multi-purpose performing arts and entertainment purposes, and to improve the library facilities. This also includes improvements to the Cultural Heritage Center, a new interactive digital wall to be built, and it includes building a new children's museum.
Oh my gosh, I just can't tell you what a wonderful feeling it is for this city. How excited I am for this city and this community in terms of what this means for the future of this city.
And as Joyce Wilson said, tomorrow will be a new day for El Paso. It'll also be a new day for Texas, as we have a new U.S. Senator representing Texas in Washington. Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison is retiring, and right now it appears that Ted Cruz, the Republican candidate to take her place in Washington, is winning by 58%. He is the favored candidate. And now moving on to the next race.
It's the race to replace longtime incumbent Congressman Sylvester Reyes. The 16th Congressional District, which represents most of El Paso County, pits Democrat Beto O'Rourke, who defeated Reyes in the primary against Republican Barbara Carrasco. There's also a Libertarian candidate, Junart Sadoy. And as you can see, O'Rourke is clearly ahead in this election with 64% of the vote right now. KFOX 14 News at 9's Joshua Zuber continues our live election team coverage from downtown El Paso.
Yeah, we're here live at the Lotus nightclub in downtown El Paso on Stanton and Texas Street. Representative O'Rourke, just arriving right now, hearing those numbers, that 65% is where you still unofficially stand. You're the winner right now, according to our media partners at the El Paso Times. How do you feel right now?
Well, I feel pretty good. You know, I'm going to feel a lot better if the numbers hold and we're officially declared the winners of this race. We've been at this for 14 months, took out a sitting incumbent congressman in the primary, and ran a hard race during the general, so I will feel great on behalf of all the people here who've worked on this if we come out ahead at the end of the night.
And obviously your work really starts if you do win on Tuesday when you get your freshman orientation for Congress. What is going to be the very first thing you try to do for a bill in Congress if you win tonight?
We got to work on jobs. There are more than 30,000 people out of work in El Paso right now. Tens of thousands of jobs depend on our international bridges, so we got to cut those lines, make it more effective and efficient to cross traffic and shoppers into El Paso. That's number one. Number two is Fort Bliss. We need small businesses in El Paso to have a better shot at competing for those contracts out there and putting more of their own employees to work. So jobs, the economy, and then doing better for our veterans and improving our VA.
And one of the biggest issues you already touched on, improving the bridge wait times. How exactly do you plan to do that as a congressman if you win?
We need, first and foremost, more Customs and Border Protection officers there. The ones that we have are being stretched far too thin. We aren't able to cover all the lanes so that we can get traffic through as quickly and effectively and safely as possible. If we do that, we create more jobs in El Paso. We improve the economy of the United States, and that's going to be my pitch to the other members of Congress.
And just really quick, Romney winning right now, and as far as Congress is concerned, the House a lot more Republicans, the Senate a lot more Democrats. Sounds like you're going to have to be doing a lot more reaching across the aisle than maybe you anticipated.
You know, I'm very comfortable doing that because I'm going to do whatever it takes to move El Paso's agenda forward. So I'll work with a President Romney or a President Obama, a Democratic or Republican-controlled Congress. The issues we face here with our VA, with our bridges, with Fort Bliss are not Democrat or Republican in origin. El Paso wants somebody who will work in a bipartisan manner going forward. I'm ready to do that.
All right. Potentially Congressman Beto O'Rourke, thank you so much for talking with us tonight live here at the Lotus Nightclub. Of course, we'll bring you more updates with the latest numbers on this race as well as all of the others. For now, reporting live downtown, Joshua Zuber, KFOX 14 News at 9.
Thanks, Joshua. In the race to represent District 23 in Austin, a district recently redrawn from the Lower Valley all the way to San Antonio, the incumbent, Republican Francisco Kiko Canseco, is in a very tight race with his biggest challenger, Democrat Pete Gallegos. And we'll keep you updated on that. It is extremely tight. In New Mexico, the big hot race for Doña Ana County is the race for U.S. Senator, pitting Martin Heinrich against Heather Wilson. And Martin Heinrich appears to have a 10% lead right now. Let's go to Samantha Manning, who is continuing our election team coverage live from our Las Cruces Bureau. Samantha.
All right, while I am here at the Ramada Palms in Las Cruces, you can obviously hear there's a lot of excitement here. This is the location for the Doña Ana County Democratic Party. Clearly, they've just heard news that they're excited about. I am here live with the chair of the Doña Ana County Democratic Party, Christy French. Christy, it's pretty loud in here. They clearly have a lot to be excited about, but let's first talk about the New Mexico Senate race between Martin Heinrich and Heather Wilson. The early voting numbers have come in for the county, showing Martin Heinrich with a slight lead. It's kind of hard not to notice that. And we do see statewide numbers coming in, also showing Heinrich with the lead over Wilson. Are these numbers what you guys were hoping and expecting to see at this point?
Yes, absolutely. We always believed that Martin Heinrich would come in strong. Martin Heinrich supports the values of New Mexicans. He supports the middle class. He's about bringing jobs back to our state and improving education, protecting seniors and veterans. So he reflects our values, and we were always very confident that he would be elected.
So of course at this point it is too close to call the race, but if Martin Heinrich does win this Senate seat, what would make him the more qualified candidate, and what would he offer the state of New Mexico?
Again, I think that he reflects our values. He wants to put the people back to work. He wants to make improvements in our education system. He wants to protect Social Security and Medicare so that it's there for our seniors. And he wants to make sure that veterans get benefits. So I think that his reflection of our values is what makes him the better candidate.
Now, nationwide tonight, we've seen across the country Republicans holding on to the House, the Senate still up in the air at this point. Is there any concern if Martin Heinrich does win the seat, running and actually getting anything done with a possibly Republican-controlled Senate?
Well, I think Martin Heinrich is extremely capable of outreaching across the aisle. He's a true leader, and I think he will do what's best for the country and for the state of New Mexico. So I'm not at all concerned that should the Democrats lose the Senate, which I don't think is going to happen, but I have no doubt that he would continue to be a leader and to reach across the aisle to work with the other party.
All right, thank you very much, Christy French. Reporting live in Las Cruces, Samantha Manning, KFOX 14 News at 9.
Also in New Mexico, in the race for U.S. Representative District 2, which represents basically the entire southern half of the state, including Doña Ana County, the incumbent Republican Congressman Steve Pearce has a very comfortable lead, in fact, better than a 2-to-1 advantage over his Democratic opponent, Evelyn Madrid Earhart. KFOX 14 will bring you continuing coverage of tonight's results throughout this newscast. We'll post more race results at the end of each segment. We're also updating the numbers on our Twitter and Facebook pages, and of course, you can find our complete election coverage on our website, kfoxtv.com.
So after a warm election day, it is another chilly night in the borderland. Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz is in our KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center with your first look at the weather.
Well, the weather certainly isn't the hot topic today, that's for sure. Take a look at the weather nets. Today we ended up with highs in the upper 70s, near 80 degrees. And just as Erica mentioned, it's chilly out there already. In fact, some areas have already begun to dip to the 50s this evening. It is going to be another chilly night for the borderland, but bigger changes are not far away. I'll let you know what to expect and when they'll arrive still ahead.
Our KFOX 14 live election team coverage continues.
Representative Dean Margot faces Democrat Joe Moody for a third time. Coming up, I'll tell you if there's a back-to-back victory or if there could be a new representative for Northeast and West El Paso.